Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Virche. Yeah, I was like, Virche, yeah, Epic Lycoris. Wow, my brain cannot put those words in the right order. Yeah, so we got the end of Lucas's emotion section last time, which is shocking as shit because it really only took 2 hours to do, and what the hell? Everybody else's takes like 5 hours or 6 hours. Like, I I'm pretty sure it takes us like probably 10 to 11 hours to do everyone's route, and Lucas's has taken us a fraction of that. Now, I think his um encore took the same amount of time as everybody else's, but this will be the third. I don't even think we're going to get an hour here because it's one ending. And it's titled Dream That Lasts Forever. So we're going to choose to maybe stay here. I don't know why that would be a bad ending, but okay. Bad because we don't get any CGs with it. But yeah, so they really do hate Lucas. But anyway, let's get this ending and then we'll get our thoughts. So it's a lovely story and we're going to say yes this time. Yes, it was a wonderful story. Are we going to stay here without Lucas? Because that would be a bad ending. Nadia smiled and giggled, then comfortably leaned against me.
Once I'm discharged, I should be able to read as many books as I want. When that happens, I can tell the stories to the children you two teach.
Okay, so wait, this is all the same. So, all right, so what was her last line? Like, you can both teach me everything you know. And this is where Lucas originally was like, yeah, no, type of a thing, right? So, what is happening here? Like, anyway. Yes, of course. No matter what happens, we'll always be together. This is what I want, Lucas. Like, oh, what the hell? My guide closed. Not that I need it, but I needed my the main tab page. The main tab's gone. Anyway, Nadia was so earnest and adorable that we both hugged her as if to protect her.
I'm so happy.
Nadia's smile easily peeked out from our group hug.
It's a promise. We'll always be together. Forever and ever and ever. I won't ever give you two up to heaven or this world.
The dream continued forever. We'd given up our chance at redemption. Okay. So that's it. If you stay, you can't become redeemed and, like, move on. So, okay. Fair enough. The day that we would be forgiven would never arrive. Yeah, that was even shorter than I expected it to be. That was even shorter than I expected it to be. What the fuck? His whole, like, route was like, okay, so let's go back in and we'll pop up a CG. We're going to stare at this for fucking forever. We can stare at this one for a little while. This one's beautiful. Or to, like, okay, you know what? To be fair, this one's cute, but his face is hidden. And I think this one's kind of more adorable. So let's stare at this one for a little while we get some thoughts, and then we'll flip to the other one, and then, like, we'll try to, like, pad this out to be at least 15 minutes because it's, like, not even 5 minutes and we're done here. So yeah, I mean, his encore section took the same amount of time, but again, with those, a lot of it is repeating stuff you've already done and then adding a little bit of details, kind of changing it and changing the ending or endings. Okay, fine. Everyone's been so far treated the same in that, as in, oh, the endings kind of suck a little. What I mean, like, they're tragic, and it's not like they suck. It's just, they're not happy endings. They're all kind of tragic, whatever. But, and then Lucas's despair end seemed about the same. Like, none of them took a full part. They only took, like, 20 minutes max to read. So, like, okay, we could have made them apart on their own, but it was like, what the hell? We might as well. We didn't. Okay. So I don't think he was really, even if his was a little bit shorter, those were never meant to be something more than what they were. Just, hey, a little additional, And while originally in Mathis's, I was more in, like, because that's one of those bad endings. That despair end was one that's like, I know this is a bad ending, but I like it. So if they had fluffed that one out a little bit, I would have been okay with it. But Lucas's, they really couldn't. They really couldn't fluff it out anymore. And I'm glad they didn't. You know what I mean? And I think overall, I'm glad they didn't with any of them because they're the despair endings. We don't need that. But with these, so Mathis has definitely suffered for the salvation end on the you do not know how to end this because you gave us something that felt so end coded and then you were like, and then you kept going and it was like, what the fuck? And again, said it before, they really just needed to reorganize it a little bit differently the where scenes played out and it would have flowed a little bit better and it probably wouldn't have been as annoying. And I think Mathis has suffered from when you're starting the game there, you're starting with the Encore one. I mean, unless you started with interlude. And maybe if you started with the interlude stuff, it was better. But again, it still it's a rough start to the game. I liked his salvation story, but I definitely feel like that it was padded out and too much. And like, I feel like they did that with Eve too. I don't think Eve's was as bad. It still had stuff in there, and there were moments where I was like, why the fuck are we have this scene? And then the scene would move on to something else. And I'm like, okay, this one's cute. But I do think, even though there were a lot of scenes in there that I did enjoy and we were still having fun, I do think they fluffed it out. They crammed so much and they tried to like, oh, we're just going to make it longer and we'll just put this little scene in here and let's have this scene where we're talking to Uncle about how we're just cleaning up and he's living at the thing and at the institute and whatever. And it's like, that was an unnecessary, it took 2 minutes, but it was unnecessary. And having the scene with Dahut talking to Nadia on the phone and then we go to talk to her and whatever was cute. Don't get me, I did like it. Was it necessary? I don't necessarily know, but I liked it, so I can't be mad about it. But when now you get to here and you were like, Lucas's route is half the time of everybody else. Half the fucking time for his salvation ending. You know what I mean? What the fuck? So then you start really analyzing what the hell were they doing with the other ones? And like, did they need half of the shit that was in them? I liked a majority of it, Again, I was mad at Mathis's, but I think it's just the way they chose to do it and structure it just kind of ruined it a little. The overall plot and what happened, I enjoyed wasting time finding out about Camille and Rosalie. I think I liked that. That added something for me. Like, was it pointless? Maybe. For most people, because like, did we need to know? But I liked it. I was like, I like that we're getting to know them, and that kind of felt like something. And if we had had some of the other stuff again, like kind of mixed in between, it might have felt or done the thing where we talked and we were trying to figure out what we're going to do with our lives and then whatever. It might not have felt like it was such a beautiful climax, like, oh, this is the end. And then we just kept going for another hour. Like, what the hell, So I think the disjointingness of it kind of ruined it. But I think for the most part, the things that happened and the way it wrapped up and like us constantly coming back as relivers every year or so it was still good overall, just poorly formatted. That's it. Eve's had a lot of filler and fluff and stuff. Like, not even fluff. It had a lot of filler that I don't necessarily know if we needed, but at the same time, still added something to it. You know what I mean? And there were only a few moments in that one where I'd be like, oh my God, are we still going? Like, what's the point of this scene? And then that would be over. And then we're on a scene that I'm like, the scene might not have a purpose, but I'm enjoying it. So it didn't seem as bad, And then to come here and see Lucas like, okay, so we got tortured a little and then we got redeemed and we're good. And it's like, the fuck is this? On one hand, I'm a little pissed because especially for people if Lucas is your favorite, they really don't like Lucas. They were really like, fuck Lucas and fuck you. Hell, because half the time you gave half the amount of effort to writing his salvation after story than you did to everyone, and not even. I spent a lot of time in his bullshitting and doing whatever, probably more than others. I say that, but it was probably the same amount. But the fact that we finished his in 2 hours and everybody else's took like probably 5, that's like not even half the time. I'm giving you credit here, and you don't deserve that much credit. A fraction of the fucking time. You know what I mean? Like, with this part included, it would be 3 parts, and I think everybody else's took like 6. Did everyone else's take 6, or were they only 5? I don't know, but still. So that's why I'm like, I can't quite remember exactly. Was it 4 to 5 hours? Was it 5 to 6 hours? I don't remember, so that's why I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt and saying half the time. Because it was half or less. And that's kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if they had padded this out, what would they have really added to this? What could they have added that would have made it worth it and not made it feel super fucking repetitive and boring? I mean, at first, okay, so when you go in and all the Boro clones are killing him, and that scene didn't drag out too much. It was like, we spent like a month doing this. Okay, cool. And then you go on to the Nadia thing and you have this little thing and you're like, okay. And they put a little more into this than they did anything else, which was good. Because you give you a happy moment with Lucas, even though you know it's not going to last and he knows it ain't going to last. And you're like, we're going to get so fucked so hard and this is going to be whatever. And then you're like, no, we can't stay here. And as the bad ending showed, okay, staying here would have been bad. All right, fine, whatever. Well, I mean, we can never be redeemed. Yeah, but we get to stay in the happy delusion forever. So, like, whatever. You know what I mean? But to be fair to Lucas made the right choice because that was a very Lucas choice to make to continue the suffering, right? And then you go on and, you know, they just kind of sprinkled that little like, oh my God, we were choking on the air and then whatever. And then we were burning to death. And then there's evil Nadia, okay? Coming after you, and it's like someone, and he makes that comment, someone else up ahead wants to torture us or whatever, make us pay for what we did. Okay. But it makes you feel like, okay, maybe there's going to be other people that he killed that we're going to have to kind of go through as hurdles. You know what I mean? And in this one, I don't remember what happened again in this Elvis. So clearly Cyan didn't die. But, like, if, say, like, in the Despair ending, he mentions, like, Hugo and Cyan, and who else did he say? What was the other? Did he say Eve? Did he kill Eve? Was that it? Or was it someone else? I can't remember. Because it wasn't Adolphe. There was Rodolphe, or, like, Rudolph or whatever. Like, but it wasn't Adolphe. He wasn't in that list. But, like, if it was like that, where, okay, he had, in the Salvation end, he had killed a bunch of people, and then I could see them doing that. Like, that could have been a nice way to fluff it up. Maybe even, again, drag this scene out where we're in Nadia's little delusion for a little bit longer before we see her. Like, oh, okay, we get to spend some time at home. We have some more romantic moments. And, like, you know, we lived in this delusion for, like, a day or two. You know what I mean? Where it's this beautiful delusion before we get to see Nadia. Like, there's a reason we can't see her right away. And, like, even if that reason seems to us as the players like, well, that seems like a bullshit fucking reason. It would make sense when you finally go and he finally sees her and talks to her and you'd be like, oh, okay. We didn't go to talk to her before because it's all bullshit and he knows that confronting her is that last step that, you know, he's got to tell her we can't stay here type of a thing. And that's gonna be the end all be all. But before we go to see her, we can live in this little delusion for a little bit longer. Or something, you know? But they would have had to, but then would that have been too much? Would it have felt like it's dragging along? Because I think the way they did it, were like, you're starting to get a feeling like something's wrong and I'd find out soon. And then all of a sudden you're like, something's wrong and we go to see Nadia. And there's just normal Nadia. You're like, you know, you were making me tense. Like something's going to jump out. Like it's going to be demon Nadia or something, or we're going to get stabbed in the face. And it's like, here's just normal Nadia. And you're like, the fuck? like the tension was kind of good. So would it have fucked up the tension? You know what I mean? Waiting for the other shoe to fall if you were like, and then the next day, and then you'd be like, okay, what are we doing? Why are we dragging this out? You know? So then the only other thing they could have done was added if there were other people in the Salvation and that he had killed, like Hugo or something, would they have, held it against him? But at the same time, would they have? Because again, like what I said in the ending, Cyan would have much been like, yeah, I'm too lazy to toast fucking bread. Do you think I'm going to be bothered to torture you down here? I don't have time for this. You know what I mean? Plus, he'd be busy being tortured, probably, because I highly doubt that man's going to heaven, as much as I adore him. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's kind of iffy. But, and then, like, if he had killed Hugo, I feel like our characters, even Hugo, would have been more like, you were being brainwashed, and, like, yeah, I'm kind of pissed you killed me and all, but, like, are they holding a grudge about it? They'd be like, yeah, I'm pissed you killed me, but you were being brainwashed, so, like, it doesn't absolve you of your crimes, but I'm not going to hold my death against you because, like, it's not like you willingly chose to kill me. Like, woohoo! You were like, no, I don't want to do this, but I did it anyway. You know? So, like, I don't know if our other characters would have... Like, I mean, they showed that in some of the other things. Like, yeah, no, it's not absolving him of his crimes that he's being brainwashed. Like, he still killed people. Because I think we saw that. But it was one of those... They kind of understood, like, he's being brainwashed, and that doesn't mean he's not going to, like, go to jail if we catch him, but, it's kind of unfortunate. So I don't know if him in a crazed frenzy of brainwashing by Capucine, if they would have tortured him. You know what I mean? They would have been like, listen, whatever hell or whoever deems to throw at you, cool. I'm not going to get involved because, like, dude, you were brainwashed. So that's really the only way they could have padded it out, but then would that have fit with our other characters? And I don't know in the Salvation end if he killed everybody. You know what I mean? Because he clearly didn't kill Cyan, so, like, who knows who else he killed. So, and if they had just done it like, and then we went through here, and then we got tortured like this, and then we got it would have felt very repetitive, because the way it was, yes, well, I'm mad, like, what the fuck? Why is there no effort put into this compared to everyone else's padding it out, adding additional things, dragging it out and whatever? It's like, was there really a purpose to do that in Lucas's? And I don't think there was, because if they had, it would have been like, so we spend 4 hours just being tortured in hell, and, like, I have a feeling that at the end of that, I would have been like, yeah, I'd rather it have been half the time and get the bullshit filler out of it. Like, But, like, so there's really no happy medium. There's no happy medium for these poor writers, to be fair. I think it just feels kind of like a slap in the face because you really you like Lucas. Lucas is a good character, and you know that they hate him the way they treat him and the way he always gets the short end of the stick. So, like, his salvation after story being so... Okay, so we went to hell, and then we were living in a little dream for like 2 minutes, and then we got tortured some more, and then we made a promise that when we're reborn, we'll be together again, and, like, cool, done. That's literally it. It was like whiplash. So, but I don't know any other way they could have done it, Not unless they really dragged out the after story, where, okay, we see Anko, and then it's years later, and then they kind of give you, like, a little scene where, hey, we're being her, and, like, a certain girl, and then we see the pretty boy, and then, like, whatever, and then they have that little meeting or whatever, But again, that's not really necessary, because you can infer that from us being with Nadia and seeing Anko, and he's like, all right, cool. And, like, okay, it's time for us to be, like, we're going to come back, if possibly. Or if your happy ending for them is, you know what? No, they just get to go. Now that we've paid our penance and everything, we could go see Anko and be like, we're happy now, but we're going to stay in heaven because we don't want to come back. then there's you go. There you go. That's the way it ends for you. And if you want to be like, you know what, then they're all reborn together and they get to find each other, then that's the happy version for you. You know what I mean? And they leave it open like that. So it works better. But it is just really, it does feel lackluster when everybody else has so much in it and Lucas's has nothing. And I feel like they couldn't have added more to Lucas without it getting really boring and stale and you going, again, either, oh, we're tortured by certain characters of that he killed, where you'd be like, would they have done this? I don't know if they would do that. And then again, even after like 2 or 3, it wouldn't be very long. They'd be short, so would have added maybe 20 minutes max. And it would have just, you would have been like, okay, it would have still felt repetitive, you know? And if they fluffed out the little delusional scene, you know, then, like, it probably would have felt stale and boring. And the tension of, like, okay, what the hell's happening here, probably would have been erased way too soon. And it wouldn't have been as good. So I don't think there was really anything they could do to drag it out that wouldn't have made it feel really fucking boring and repetitive. With that being said, I feel like what they should have done, though, probably, is when they're looking at this and they go, okay, Lucas's route is like a fraction of the length of everybody else's. Take out some of the filler fluff and the other ones that you don't really need. Condense it down, and we never would have known it was there. And, like, if his, like, okay, it's going to take you about 20 minutes to read his. It might, like, you know, whatever. Maybe it takes 2 hours to read everybody else's. Okay, but, you know, like, his took like an hour to read. Everybody else's took 3 or 4. Shorten them up. Tighten them all up to make it a little more even, that even though you would look at it and you'd be like, oh, Lucas's was a lot shorter than other people's. But, you know, it's not too much. Not as drastic. You know? And I'm saying that as someone who likes some of the filler stuff that in Mathis's and Eve's would have been taken out, and those were some of the scenes that I liked, you know? Like, was it necessary to have Dahut talking to Nadia and then we talk to Nadia and we reassure her and everything? We didn't need that scene. It was not needed at all. But I liked it. I enjoyed that scene. I was like, oh, that's a cute little scene. I like that it's there. Wasn't needed. You know what I mean? Some of the additionals, okay, well, we'll go down and find out who built the tunnel. And some of this stuff wasn't necessary. Like, they could have condensed a lot of it, but they didn't. And so that makes Lucas's route feel so much more lackluster, because you're like, oh, okay. Like, so I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I don't think that's not actually true. I'm glad they didn't drag it out and make it boring and bland and make me be like, why the fuck are we still here? But it does, when you step back, feel really weird that, like, wow, you really do hate Lucas because you spent a third of the amount of fucking effort writing his story than you did everybody else's. Like, what the hell? But again, could they have done anything differently? Not really. Not the way you fucked over Lucas in the first game. So you can't really necessarily blame the inability to write more detail into Lucas's salvation end in this game, on this game, when you are starting it from a basis of Lucas died and then we killed ourselves. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? You worked with what you had, but what you had was, we hate Lucas. Like, you know? It's not like if he was laying there or she didn't kill him and she dragged him away and he was dying. Like Eve. Eve was dying in the cave, but he didn't exactly die. And then, you know, but did we need as much detail of him being in the cave with him slowly dying before we were found and then there was a cure? They dragged that out. We didn't need that much. You know what I mean? Like, I liked some of the scenes, but they didn't need it. You know? So, and I think this is kind of like, in a way, proof that they put a lot of stuff in the other routes that you didn't need. Because they wrapped this up so damn fast with no filler bullshit, and it still felt great. It still felt good, don't get me wrong. If we had done Lucas's first and this was the expectation, I would have been like, okay. But then that also makes me go back to the guide and go to Otome Kitten's point of the encore stories. Were they really necessary for them to add to the game? Yes. In Lucas's case, yes. Because he has no content. And if I now, like, originally I was like, yeah, I mean, we're reading a lot of the same stuff, so I'm not mad about the fact that I'm rereading stuff that we read in the other game because it's been so long I don't remember. I'm going, yeah, this seems familiar, these seems familiar. Are they long and drawn out? Yeah. Could they have condensed them? Yeah. It is what it is, though. I, again, am not mad that I'm rereading shit that I already read in the first game because I don't remember it. So it can't make me mad if I don't remember it. If I had replayed Virche before starting this, I'd been like, I just read this shit. And I'd be so mad that I'm rereading hours worth of shit that I already read. That would have bothered me. But as it stands, I can't be bothered about it because I don't remember it. And it was a decent refresher. You know what I mean? I feel like they probably could have worked around that, but like, whatever, semantics. Okay? But now I feel like those are absolutely fucking necessary because everybody else, if you take those out, is like 5-6 hours, and Lucas is like a whole fucking 5 minutes. What the shit? The only reason we've gotten to 30 minutes is because I've been rambling the whole fucking time. This was not even 5 minutes. I've rambled for 20 some odd minutes now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, yeah, I do feel like the encore were necessary. They absolutely were. I feel like they could have tightened them. They could have tightened everything up a little bit. I'm not originally, like, I was thinking about it after doing Lucas's encore stuff before I started all the rest of his, like, the emotion section, which I literally started today. I recorded the whole fucking thing in one day, and that's impressive because the other ones don't normally take only 3 hours to do. Not even. But I was like, you know what? I'm like, it's been getting better as it goes. Like, I didn't feel like when recording Lucas's that I was like, ever had a moment where like, oh God, are we still doing this? I'm so fucking bored. Where I was bored or like, feeling a little lackluster about it. I think it was, again, the worst in Mathis's, probably because bad place to start, so poor Mathis, the structural weirdness of the Salvation ending, the way they did that, again, if they had done that a little bit better, I think it would have worked better for me and not pissed me off so much. And the encore thing was not really Mathis, so the connection with Mathis isn't really there. So, like, I think if you went from the first game right into that, it would be there, but it wasn't there for me, so it was just not a good place to start. So I feel like he got the short end of the stick from me because it was just not a good place to start. Eve's wasn't as bad. There were moments, again, where I was like, we're still doing this. Like, I'm so bored. Okay. And my real complaint in Lucas is just, once again, That's all she says 90% of the time. I'm going to need you to come up with a better word. So pick up something else. And then just the constant, like, we're going to Hades. And it's a personal problem for me. I'm like, it just sounds ridiculous. We're talking about blood and guts and gore and ripping hearts out. And then we're like, in Hades? Because we can't say hell, guys. That would be wrong. And it just sounds like sugar-coated. Like we're sugar-coating it because, like, we're just trying to say Hades because we don't want to say hell. It's a little too rough, but then you're talking about ripping hearts out. So, like, you know what I mean? I think it's like the whiplash is so bizarre, and I'm like, okay. And I don't know what it is, like, Hades is like a person. Like, well, is he Greek or Roman? Was Hades Greek? Which one's which? I don't know. But, like, Hades is a place and a person's name, right? In mythology and everything like that. But it's just, I think it's because of the way they use it in here. They're like, we're going to Hades. And because she's so goody two-shoes, so every time she says it, it makes me like, you're allowed to swear, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, golly gee darn it. So the fact that she called Lucas stupid, I'm quite amazed. You're being silly. Because that's the kind of language I expect to come from her. So, like, props to her for calling him stupid. You know? Again, that's just me being like, why does this irk me sometimes? every time was irking me a lot in Eve's route. It was like, this is like 90% of what she said. Okay, it's like 45% of what she says, to be fair. Like, you know, but and those are little problems. It has nothing to do with the game. That's a me problem. I get that. But like, I don't know, like I didn't feel like doing in Lucas's, I was like, oh my God, I'm so bored. Or, oh my God, what are we doing here? Why are we still here? It's like it's going on, we're doing stuff, and then it's like, oh, actually, you know what? We managed to get through Lucas's. There were moments where I was like, they better not drag this shit out because we're getting to a place, and if they keep going, and then they just kind of went on to the next scene, and I was like, okay, all right. Because I just have this expectation they're going to drag it out. Like me right now, dragging this part out. See? I know I'm a hypocrite. Okay? I get it. But so I in theory I don't mind that Lucas's route got to the point and got it over with, but I do feel like, you know, though, compared to how much effort they put into the others to drag it out, it feels like unfair treatment for Lucas. And it just feels like it goes back more like, wow, if you love Lucas, you're getting really screwed here. And if you didn't have the encore stuff to do, what the fuck? Now, maybe the interlude stuff is going to be great and we're going to have a lot of good Lucas stuff in it. I don't know. But I'm not holding my breath. So I feel really sorry for Lucas stands because you got a fraction of the amount of content. Okay, not counting the encore, just this stuff. But like several hours less. And it's like, but again, I don't know how they could have done it better without dragging it out and making it boring. So they would have had to tighten up others. And I really kind of feel like they should have done that. I hate to say that because some of the scenes that they would cut from those other routes would be good ones that I enjoyed and I was having fun with. But I feel like they could have just, you know, if they cut them and then made it a little bit so it wasn't such a huge discrepancy on the length of time between routes. But it is what it is. So Lucas gets the, look at that beautiful CG. Anyway, I wanted to go back to this one before it goes gray, but that's Lucas's route, so we'll be starting Cyan next, and I wasn't expecting to start his route so soon, which is good, but also bad because, you know, I was expecting based on how I calculate things, I'm like, okay, this took roughly this amount. If everything's taking 11 hours, I'm expecting this to take 11. If it takes like 10, okay. If it took 12, great. If it's going to take like 4 hours, that's going to throw a fucking kink. That's going to throw a wrench in all the fucking clockwork shit that I've built up to try to prepare for fucking Christmas and to get ahead. And that means I'm going to be further behind on this one when I come back in January and I'm able to record again. Or I'm going to have so much more I have to fucking record. Because where I was anticipating being, I was like, oh, that'll end up perfect, right exactly where I want to be mid-January. And now it's going to be several hours behind. And it's like, good times, because I, right now, not counting the few hours I did today, I have about 50 hours of shit that I have to record over the next, 2 to 3 weeks. That's a fucking lot of stuff to do in the next, 3 weeks. That's a shit ton. Oh my God. So yeah, I don't know. So because, they kind of, I mean, we could do it, but then it would mean that I did wherever we would be, which I think we might get up to a Dollface stuff by January, I think. And then I wasn't going to do the Drifter because I don't know how long that's going to take. But even if, say, even if we say weren't, maybe Science ended there or whatever, I wouldn't want to do the encore and then leave and then have 3 weeks where I can't record, possibly whatever. And then it's probably only 2 weeks, but I want to give myself a buffer because I don't want to come back the beginning of January and be like, I'm 2 days ahead. I want to be a little bit further ahead. That's why I'm trying to record to mid-January. So this is throwing a wrench in my works. What the fuck, game? So, whatever. So, this one might have to go every other day for a little while then if I can't manage to get further ahead, because 50 hours was enough, and now thinking I've got to record additional, and I don't know how long the Drifter route would take, and what if that takes 2 hours? What if it takes 12? You know what I mean? I don't want to be in the middle of something when I leave and come back and be like, it's been 2 weeks. You know how it is when I'm going to leave and go back to science route in like 4 or 5 days and then be like, I have no idea what I'm doing anymore. For God's sakes, I can barely remember what I'm doing 3 hours later. Like, you're going to give me a couple weeks? So that's just fucking up everything. But if we have to start going every other day over Christmas, I'm going to blame this game screwing up Lucas's round. Then just, I couldn't manage to record 50 hours in the next couple of weeks. Which, but anyway. Because then I also have to record like 3 or 4 weeks. Actually, I have to record like 6 or 7 weeks worth of Sims stuff over the next 3 weeks as well. So I have a lot to do. I probably have close to like 90 hours worth of shit that I have to record in 3 weeks. I don't have to, but I'm doing my best, guys. And I know you guys are going to be like, it's okay, you don't have to worry about it. But I do, okay? I like to... Apparently, I thrive on stress. I don't know. You think that stress would be my superpower, but I enjoy doing this. But and we might have to go every other day. Now, if you're watching this long after Christmas and bulk watching it, this is not for you. This is only pertinent to the people who are watching this as it's going up, and I'm not even sure where this is going to post, but it's not even Thanksgiving for me. That's what I'm saying. So, like, it's the week of Thanksgiving, but like, and I have no idea. This is sometime in December, but I realize that I'm really not as far ahead as I thought I was. So, anyway, yeah, we'll figure it out, but Cyan will start tomorrow, unless this is somehow, I think Cyan's going to start tomorrow. If we're already at the every other day. I doubt we are, but whatever. Anyway, Cyan's next. Woohoo! I get to see my hot bastard boyfriend. I'm kind of excited about that. They better not dick him over. Sorry, Lucas fans. But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to I've stretched this out for 40 fucking minutes. Do you see? See? Anyway, remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.